The first two games of the playoffs were at the Baltimore Arena. It's small and usually full of people bent on welcoming visiting teams. The Blast was a heavy favorite. In Game 1, Bruce Savage took control for the Blast. His 2 goals proved to be the edge in a 3-2 win for Baltimore.
It was one of our worst games ever, and yet they only beat us by 1 goal. They didn't do anything to give us problems, and we knew that if we had just started to play our style a bit better, that we would have no problems beating them.
Two nights later, Savage again took control. Only in Game 2, he took control of Tattoo. Tattoo couldn't shake the mark, and after the first quarter, Baltimore led 4-2.
Me and Bruce was, I think, was more individual than a team battle. I tell you, we worked very hard, and the moment I get out the series, I was tired, and I guarantee he was tired.
It wasn't just Savage marking him single-handedly. They were double-teaming him quite a bit, and that's when the second and third forward came into play, and they needed to get up and support him and get open.
Three players then scored for Dallas, with Victor Moreland putting in the winner, and surprisingly, the series was tied, and the Sidekicks headed home.
Come back 2-0 at that time in a 5-game series could have been curtains for us. So the second game was a good performance, good victory, did what was needed. We came back with a split.
Game 3 was a defensive showdown. Dallas took the early lead on a Mark Carpin power play, but Baltimore answered with 2 before the half. Milano put in the equalizer in the third quarter, and it remained tied through regulation. Just into overtime, Andy Chapman scored the winner, and suddenly Dallas was 1 game away from elimination.
To lose at home and to give them a 2-1 advantage with only 1 more victory needed out of the 2 remaining games was really, it swung, the momentum had swung into their court.
2 nights later, the Sidekicks took a 2-1 lead at the half. Tattoo finally shook free from Savage and scored to give the Sidekicks the lead, but the Blast came back. Richard Chinapoo scored twice within 90 seconds, 1 more overtime.
Again, we have everything against us, you know, and the moment we went to overtime, I said, well, our season can be over now.
Milano into Tattoo against Savage. Playing along the board, Tattoo, spin shot, scores! Sidekicks win!
The moment I put in the net, I was very happy because I give another chance to the team to play another game.
Pack the bags, we're going to Baltimore!
Dallas would have to do it on the road and the hard way. Savage was giving Tattoo fits in Game 5, but in the fourth quarter, the kicks exploded.
Goal, Dallas! Just like that, Dallas comes back and shows us that they've got what a championship team is made of.
Throughout the season, we always come back from the dead. Why not once more? And that's what we did. And to say throughout the playoffs, we played as a unit. We were all together, and that's what really takes to be a winner.
And here we go, as Smith will trigger it. Just outside the box, chips it, shot, blocked, comes out, shot off the boards, look out! Shot, goal, Yaramovich! Dallas again showing that they are not going to wilt under any pressure.
I thought after the 4th game, when we won that game in overtime and leveled the series, I just had that feeling, that belief that we were going to win.
Lawson again, settles, looks, drops, shot, and a goal for Dallas, and that could be the one that ends the season for Baltimore. That looks like it might ice it.
I think the manner in which we won it was tremendous, because it wasn't like we won 5-4 and held on for the last 5 minutes. We won it going away. You know, we went ahead 5-4, then 6-4, and then 7-4.
20 seconds left. Dallas content to chip it away. In front, off the post, follow-up goal, and that's the exclamation point on the ball game for Dallas.
In the fourth quarter, 5 goals, a hat trick for Mark Carpin, and suddenly the Sidekicks had escaped, winning 3 games to 2. And just as suddenly, Dallas was in Cleveland for the divisional finals.
Before the 5th game in Baltimore, I'd made a decision that when we'd won it, I certainly would bring in reserve team players for that first game in Cleveland, no matter what.
Wes McLeod, David Stride, and Chris Sobieski were all held out of action at the start of Game 1. And Tattoo joined them after an encounter with Cleveland's John Stolmeyer.
Azamani out for Kitson, he scores! Paul Kitson. And he beat the goaltender Phillips on the short side.
Cleveland won 5-3, but Game 2 would feature a well-rested and mentally prepared Sidekicks club.
We weren't really ready for that series to start that quickly, and you know, Tattoo did get injured in Game 1, and you know, we were very concerned about that, and for the doctors and our trainer to have him playing in Game 2 was phenomenal, and we didn't expect him to be there, so we showed up knowing we were going to have to play our best game of the season as a team, and then to hear that Tattoo was going to play that game really fired us up.
It was evident from the beginning, Willie Milano and Tattoo each scored twice. It was 4-0 Sidekicks at the half. Dallas held on for a 9-6 win, but more important, they returned home for the first time in a week.
You could sense this air of confidence, quiet confidence starting to appear. It was a good feeling. And when you get back to your airport and you see your fans there, they're sensing, hey, this could be the start of something very good.
2-1. Dallas on top.
Game 3 was a close one at the beginning. Dallas with a 2-1 lead in the third quarter, but another 2-goal effort from Tattoo led the way as the Kicks won 5-2.
Puts it for Tattoo, it's in! What a goal by Tattoo! And what an assist by McLeod, who took it the length of the floor.
We knew that we had caught the town's attention, so to speak, and you know, it gave us more incentive to go out there and do a good job. Not that there was no incentive at all. There certainly was, but it really added to it.
This group of players was now getting attention. There was talk of a sellout at reunion, and it was not a rumor.
That's the answer for everything we've done. You know, it was a hard work, and have 16,800 people there was a payoff.
The desire to play is just heightened so much. You don't fatigue as easy. You feel the sense of purpose because now you have a community that is coming out to watch you perform. And we felt that we had to give them their money's worth.
Lawson with a mortar, deflected in! At the 4:50 mark, the Sidekicks take the lead.
Turned on by the crowd, Dallas drilled into Cleveland, winning 9-4.
It might not be the largest crowd you can get in the MISL, but it's definitely the loudest. And they wouldn't let us lose.
Tattoo against Gargle. There's Lawson again in the box. It's in, Carpet. Mark Carpet puts it in. It is 5-1.
We scored 9 goals that game, and you know, we're a good team, but I think the fans helped us score that many goals.
Kevin Smith in front. Oh, it's in! A nice run by Carpet.
I know the players were elated, particularly those who'd been with us from day one. And again, it's another little positive as we progress. It seemed to be little, like a jigsaw puzzle. Each little piece was falling into place.
The force playing shorthanded. Deflected. By Tattoo, the goal is empty. Johns is out. Carpin to Tattoo, ducks two.
One more game and the Sidekicks would play for the championship.
If we had lost game 5, we're back to Dallas again, but there was no way that Cleveland was going to beat us in that game. We had the motivation going. Cleveland were down, they were arguing with each other, and we just went out and game 5 and that and just took it to Cleveland.
They rolled into Cleveland, and they didn't even blink. Tattoo put in this rocket for the winner and hat trick. Now, all the Sidekicks had to do was wait for a winner to emerge from the Tacoma-San Diego series.
We beat them in 4 straight games, and after that I was so happy. I think, on the top of the world.
Being the underdog was good, and one player from Cleveland during the series, they down 3-1, and they still talking, it cannot be. We cannot lose to Dallas. You know, look at the Dallas team. It's impossible. So they didn't believe until it was over. So that was the good part. We surprised 2 teams.
After the game, quietly in Cleveland, you know, when we got back to the hotel, it was naturally a very joyful group. And I went to my room and I called home, and all of a sudden, in the conversation with my wife, I realized that, you know, we're now in the final series.